Hello. Thanks for joining me for this Tisha B'Av service. I think I'm going to do something special tonight if the technology cooperates. I'm going to start with, instead of a nigun, a piece of music by the rivers of Babylon. I'm going to turn to YouTube, and hopefully that will be loud enough for everybody to hear it over the broadcast. I'm going to proceed with a service, a short service, and then offer some thoughts and a sermon on this occasion of Tisha B'Av and what this can mean for us in our Jewish liturgy and our Jewish calendar happening to us right now at this time of year and in the midst of this pandemic. And then I'm going to chant some of the Book of Lamentations, Echa, and I'm going to start off by showing you some of the text while I'm doing that. But then I'm going to move to, if the technology permits, a video that somebody has used a piece of music that they've set to the idea of Echa on YouTube, and it's got artwork of the temple, including the temple in the time of the destruction of the temple, which is what this holy day of Tisha B'Av commemorates. And it shows us some of the actually surviving the artwork in Rome on the Arch of Titus that depicts the Roman sacking of the temple, and the remains of the temple at the Kotel in Jerusalem, and then beautiful artwork that shows what the temple was like in its heyday. And the piece ends up, and that's all going to be a visual, if the technology works, while I'm chanting Echa. It's going to end up with images of life going on today in Israel and the religious life that has been restored. So it ends on a beautiful images of restoration. And after that, we'll finish our service with final concluding prayers, including a Mishaberach and a Kaddish. And then for a closing piece, I'm going to turn back to YouTube and bring in from the opera Nabucco, Va Pensiero, the chorus of the Hebrew slaves by Giuseppe Verdi, which is acted out by the opera company, and it shows you depicts the Hebrews in captivity in Babylon, longing for restoration to Zion. And it's one of the most uplifting pieces in opera music history, a piece that actually became the national anthem for Italy, and is, I believe it's always played with an encore when the opera is performed. And that is I think, an uplifting way to conclude our being with this occasion of Tisha B'Av. Tisha B'Av, the 9th day of the month of Av, commemorates the destruction of the temple in 586 BC by the Babylonian invasion. And then, coincidentally, in history, the Roman destruction is pinned to this same date later on in Jewish history, as are many other tragic events. I'll talk more about that in the process of the service. Let us begin with this piece of music. Tonight, I'm going to be using a different prayer book, but you can still follow along in the Gates of Prayer on the evening service, page 31. And I would love for any of you to reach out to me and let me know if you're following along in any of the Shabbat services I'm doing with the prayer book, and whether we can do more or improve in that respect. I'm going to begin with a reading. And I'm reading from the newer Reform Movement prayer book, Mishkan Tefillah, which probably none of you have, but I will share this. We are called unto life, destiny uncertain, yet we offer thanks for what we know, for health and healing, for labor and repose, for renewal of beauty in earth and sky, for that blend of human holy which inspires compassion, and for hope, eternal, promising light, for life, for health, for hope, for beautiful, bountiful blessing. All praise to the source of being. We are going to turn to the Baruch Hu. Yada-dai-dai-dai, yada-dai-dai-dam, 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 yada-dai-dai-dam. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed, le'olam va'ed. Da-da-da-da-dam, 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 da-da-da-da-dam. Praise Adonai, to whom praise is due forever, and praise be Adonai, to whom praise is due forever, and now and forever. The blessings for evening. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, b'chokhmah poteach she'arim, u'b'tevuna mishane itim, u'machalif et hazmanim, u'mesader et hakochavim b'mishmorotehem, barakia kirtzono. Borei yom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or, Uma'avir yom u'mevi laila, umavdil ben yom u'ven laila, Adonai tzevaot shemo. El chai v'kayam, tamid yimloch aleinu leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai hama'ariv aravim. Praised are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzvaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Praise to you, Adonai, who brings on evening. I'm going to read the Ahavat Olam prayer, first in English. Everlasting love, you offered your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai, our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and on your commandments. We will rejoice in your Torah forever. Day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our life, and doing them lengthens our days. Never remove your love from us. Praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel. Ahavat olam beit Yisrael amcha ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot, chukim u'mishpatim otanu limadeta. Al ken Adonai Eloheinu b'shochveinu u'v'kumenu nasiach b'chulkecha, v'nismach v'divrei Toratecha u'b'mitzvotecha leolam va'ed, ki hem chayenu v'orech yameinu, uvahem nehege yomam v'layla, ve'ahavatecha al tasir mimenu le'olamim. Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. Hear, O Israel, Adonai is our God, Adonai is one. Blessed is God's glorious majesty forever and ever. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha V'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol meodecha v'hayu ha'devarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavcha hayom alevavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibaharta baham v'shivtecha b'veitecha u'v'lechtecha v'derech Ushokbecha uvekumecha ukshartam leot ayadecha vehayula totafot behin einecha uketavtaham amezuzot beitecha uvisharecha lema'an tizgeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'yitem kedoshim lelohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher chotzeti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim lihyot Lachem Elohim, Ani Adonai Elohechem. You shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. Take to heart these instructions with which I charge you this day. Impress them upon your children. Recite them when you stay at home and when you are away, when you lie down and when you rise up. Bind them as a sign on your hand and let them serve as a symbol on your forehead. Inscribe them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. Thus shall you remember to observe all my commandments and to be holy to your God. I am Adonai, your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your God. I am Adonai, your God. Adonai Elohechem Emet. A reading from Mishkan Tefillah. Sing the song of men and women, joined in understanding and respect, the song of God's miracles as earth protected and cherished, a gift for our children and the generations to come, the song of a land once ravished by war, now quiet and content, her soldiers home to leave no more, the song of a world redeemed, the song of peace. We prepare for the Micha Mocha prayer, and I'm mindful of this crossing which we make, a crossing into a prayerful moment in the midst of this summer of pandemic, as we begin to head towards the High Holy Days. We will have the 3 Haftarot of the prophetic condemnations of Israel veering away from God, followed by 7 Haftorahs of comfort, culminating in the most beautiful Haftorah, Nachamu, about which I will offer a teaching for our next month's Lunch and Learn. But right now, we are still crossing, and we're heavy from everything that this community is going through. Let us look to the experience of our ancestors, crossing in joy, crossing in faith, crossing to a new beginning. Micha mocha ba'elim Adonai, Micha mocha nedar ba'kodesh, Norah tehilot hosei feleh. Malchutecha ra'u vanecha, bokei hayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, ze eli anu ve'amru Adonai yimloch leolam va'ed. ונאמר, כיפדה אדוני את יעקב, וגואלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל Yisrael. Who is like you, O God, among the gods that are worshipped? Who is like you, majestic in holiness, awesome in splendor, working wonders? Your children witnessed your sovereignty, the sea splitting before Moses and Miriam. This is our God, they cried. Adonai will reign forever and ever. Thus it is said, Adonai redeemed Jacob from a hand stronger than his own. Praise are you, Adonai, for redeeming Israel. The Hashkivenu prayer, I'm going to do the melody by an artist musician named Dan Nichols. And the Hebrew is just limited to several phrases from the longer Hashkivenu prayer, which is the prayer in which we ask God to watch over us, keep us safe at night. And Dan Nichols' version goes like this. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom v'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Spread the shelter of your peace over us. Guide us with wisdom, compassion, and trust. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, ve'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Save us for the sake of your name. Shield us from sorrow, hatred, and pain. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, v'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim. I'm going to do the Amidah, our standing prayer, tefillah, from the Gates of Prayer book that you may have if you wish to follow on page 37. And I'm going to do it aloud. And I ask you to rise if you're following along and you wish to do that. Adonai sifatai tivtach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Eternal God, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your glory. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imateinu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, El Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Yomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Chasdei Avot, V'imachot, U'mevi Geula Livnei B'neihem, L'man Shemo, V'Ahava, Melech Ozer, U'Moshiach, U'Magen. Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Bezrat Sarah. The English on page 37. We praise you, Lord our God, and God of all generations, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, great, mighty, and awesome God, God supreme, master of all the living. Your ways are ways of love. You remember the faithfulness of your ancestors, and in love bring redemption to your children's children for the sake of your name. You are our King and our help, our Savior and our shield. Blessed is the Lord, the shield of Abraham. On page 38. Atagi bor leolam Adonai, mechaye hakol atav rav lehoshia, mechalkel chaim bechesed, mechaye hakol berachamim rabim, somech nofim berofeh cholim, umatir asurim, umekayeim emunato, lishenei afar, michamocha bal gevurot, umido mehelach, melech meimihit umechaye, umatzmiach Yeshua, v'ne'eman atah lechachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai mechaye hakol. Eternal is your might, O Lord. All life is your gift. Great is your power to save. With love you sustain the living. With great compassion give life to all. You send help to the falling and healing to the sick. You bring freedom to the captive and keep faith with those who sleep in the dust. Who is like unto you, Master of might? Who is your equal? O Lord of life and death, source of salvation. Blessed is the Lord, source of life. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, kadoshim b'kol yom yihalalu chasela, Baruch atah Adonai ha'el hakadosh. Atah chonen le'adam datu melamed le'anosh bina, chanenu me'itcha dea bina v'chaskel, Baruch atah Adonai chonen hada'at. Chashivenu avinu l'toratecha, v'karvenu malkenu l'avodatecha, v'chachazirenu b'tshuva shlema lefanecha, Baruch atah Adonai harotzeh b'tshuva. I'll translate these three blessings. You are holy, your name is holy, and those who strive to be holy declare your glory day by day. Blessed is the Lord, the holy God. You favor us with knowledge and teach mortals understanding. May you continue to favor us with knowledge, understanding, and insight. Blessed is the Lord, gracious giver of knowledge. Help us to return our Maker to your Torah. Draw us near, O sovereign God, to your service, and bring us back into your presence in perfect repentance. Blessed is the Lord who calls for repentance. Selach lanu avinu ki chatanu, mechal lanu malkenu ki pashanu, ki mochel v'soleach ata, Baruch atah Adonai hanun hamarbeh l'sloach. Forgive us, our Creator, when we have sinned. Pardon us, our King, when we transgress, for you are a forgiving God. Blessed is the Lord, the gracious God whose forgiveness is abundant. We turn to page 40. Re'eh ba'anyenu v'rivarivenu v'go'alenu mehera lema'an shemecha ki go'el chazak atah Baruch atah Adonai go'el Yisrael. Look upon our affliction and help us in our need, O mighty Redeemer. Redeem us speedily for your name's sake. Blessed is the Lord, the Redeemer of Israel. Rafa'enu Adonai v'nirafeh, Hoshienu v'nivashea, v'ha'aleh refuah shlema l'chol makotenu. Baruch atah Adonai rofeh hacholim. Help us, heal us, O Lord, and we shall be healed. Save us, and we shall be saved. Grant us a perfect healing from all our wounds. Blessed is the Lord, healer of the sick. Barech aleinu Adonai Eloheinu et hashana hazot ve'et kol minei teruata letova. V'ten baracha al Pnei ha'adama v'sabenu mituvecha. Baruch atah Adonai v'varech hashanim. Bless this year, O Lord our God, and let its produce bring us well-being. Bestow your blessing on the earth and satisfy us with your goodness. Blessed is the Lord, from whom all blessings flow. Tekah b'shofar gadol l'cherutenu v'san nes lefdot asokenu v'kol dror yishma be'arba'a kanfot haaretz. Baruch atah Adonai podeh asukim. Sound the great horn to proclaim freedom. Inspire us to strive for the liberation of the oppressed, and let the song of liberty be heard in the four corners of the earth. Blessed is the Lord, Redeemer of the oppressed. Al shotei eretz shpok ruchecha v'hadrachem v'mishpatei tzidka u'maloch aleinu atah levadecha b'chesed v'rachamim. Baruch atah Adonai melech ohev tzedakah u'mishpat. Pour your spirit upon the rulers of all lands. Guide them that they may govern justly. Oh, may you alone reign over us in steadfast love and compassion. Blessed is the sovereign Lord who loves righteousness and justice. Al hatzadikim ve'al hachasidim ve'aleinu yehemu rachamecha Adonai Eloheinu v'ten sachar tov l'kol haborchim b'shimcha be'emet v'sim chelkenu imahem la'olam. Baruch atah Adonai mishan miftach l'tzadikim. Have mercy, O Lord, upon our God, upon the righteous and faithful of all peoples, and upon all of us. Uphold all who faithfully put their trust in you, and grant that we may always be numbered among them. Blessed is the Lord, the staff and support of the righteous. V'Yerushalayim yircha, v'rachamim tifneh, v'yehi shalom b'sharecha, v'shalva b'lev yoshvecha, v'toratcha mitzion tetzeh, U'dvarcha miYerushalayim. Baruch atah Adonai noten shalom b'Yerushalayim. And turning compassion to Jerusalem, your city, let there be peace in her gates, quietness in the heart of her inhabitants. Let your Torah go forth from Zion, and your word from Jerusalem. Blessed is the Lord who gives peace to Jerusalem. Et tzemach tzidka mehera tatzmiach, v'keren Yeshua terum v'kenumecha, ki lishuatecha Ki vinu kol hayom. Baruch atah Adonai matzmiach keren Yeshua. Cause the plant of justice to spring up soon. Let the light of deliverance shine forth according to your word, for we await your deliverance all the day. Blessed is the Lord who will cause the light of deliverance to dawn for all the world. Shma kolenu Adonai Eloheinu chus v'rachem aleinu v'kabel berachamim v'ratzon et tfilatenu. Ki el shomea tefilot v'tachnu nimata. Baruch atah Adonai shomea tefillah. Hear our voice, O Lord our God. Have compassion upon us and accept our prayer with favor and mercy, for you are a God who hears prayers and supplication. Blessed is the Lord who hearkens to prayer. Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu be'amcha Yisrael v'tefilatam be'ahavat tikabel v'tehi l'ratzon tamid avodat Yisrael amecha al karov l'chol korav Pnei el abdecha v'chanenu, shafok ruchacha aleinu, v'techezena enenu, v'shuvcha v'tzion v'rachamim. Baruch atah Adonai hamachazir shechinato v'tzion. Be gracious, O Lord our God, to your people Israel, and receive our prayers with love. O may our worship always be acceptable to you. Fill us with the knowledge that you are near to all who seek you in truth. Let our eyes behold your presence in our midst and in the midst of our people in Zion. Blessed is the Lord, whose presence gives life to Zion and all Israel. Modim anachnu lach she'atahu Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu le'olam va'ed. Tzur chayenu magen yishenu atah u'lador vador. Nodeh lecha misaper tehilatecha al chayenu hamisurim ba'yadecha ve'al nishmotenu hapagudot lach. Ve'al nisecha shebechol yom imanu, ve'al niflaotecha v'tovtecha shebechol et erev v'boker v'tzoharayim hatov. Ki lo chalu rachamecha hamrachem, ki lo tamu chastecha me'olam, ki vinu lach. This is on page 44. We gratefully acknowledge that you are the Lord our God and God of our people, the God of all generations. You are the rock of our life, the power that shields us in every age. We thank you and sing your praises for our lives which are in your hand, for our souls, which are in your keeping, for the signs of your presence we encounter every day, and for your wondrous gifts at all times, morning, noon, and night. You are goodness. Your mercies never end. You are compassion. Your love will never fail. You have always been our hope. Kulam yitbarach v'yitromam shimcha malkeinu, tamid le'olam va'ed. For all these things, O sovereign God, let your name be forever exalted and blessed. V'chol hachayim yaducha sela, v'yahalelucha et shimcha ve'emet. Ha'el Yeshuatenu ve'ezratenu sela. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha, v'lecha na'eh lehodot. O God, our Redeemer and Helper, let all who live affirm you and praise your name in truth, Lord, whose nature is goodness. We give you thanks and praise. We conclude the tefillah on page 47. Oh, who say shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru imru amen. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Before we turn to a reading of selections from the Book of Lamentations, I wanted to talk a little bit about my sense of why do we gather to remember this day of mourning? We have other days of mourning and sadness in the Hebrew calendar, beginning with the whole period leading up to the days of awe. There is, in the Slichot prayers, the prayers of penitence, there is a somberness as we approach Yom Kippur, a day that is a rehearsal for our own deaths. There is a Yizkor service following the Yom Kippur, and another Yizkor after Sukkot and after Pesach and Shavuot. There's a Yom HaShoah, a day of remembrance of the Holocaust. And there's a Yom HaZikaron, a day of memory for those who have fallen, defending the state of Israel. And then there is an ongoing memory of those we have lost with the Yartzeit and the Kaddish that we say each night. There are fast days like the fast of Gedalia, marking the beginning of these days leading up to Tisha B'Av, remembering destruction of Jerusalem in ancient times. There's a fast of the firstborn before Pesach, remembering the awesomeness of God and striking down the firstborn at the Passover liberation. So why do we have one more day? And why is it so solemn that we not only recollect the destruction of the temple, first temple by the Babylonians, but that tradition tells us even that the Romans went so far as to destroy the second temple on the same day, almost 600 years later. And then Jewish historians record other tragedies throughout the millennia that apparently befell our people on Tisha B'Av, right through the Warsaw Ghetto. But one could turn away and say it's too much attention to sorrow and memory. But from my work in chaplaincy and as an educator, I've come to believe that there is a wisdom in our Jewish tradition, in this liturgical placement of days on which we get in touch with our grief. We're invited to get in touch with our grief. Why? Because I think to grieve is part of our human condition. We are going to lose loved ones. We're going to suffer illness or injuries ourselves. And we're going to, unless we die suddenly, we're going to have a sense of our own mortality. These are all experiences of grief, and they are correlated, as it says in Ecclesiastes, and as other wisdom throughout the ages from some very beautiful authors have lyrically put. When we love, we are destined to lose. Even the most perfect love, unless the two lovers die simultaneously and move on to Olam Haba, the world to come, together, someone will be left behind. Someone will be grieving for their beloved. And here's what I think we have to learn from this, if we'll let it, as my friend wrote in her prayer for Shabbat, if we let it. Because I think that the natural human tendency with grief, with loss, with sorrow is to move away from it as soon as we can, in any way that we can, to fill our mind, to fill our days with anything to keep us busy. And so it's human to collect grief throughout the course of our lifetimes. I'm going to use a metaphor. I think this image speaks to me because I don't think that grief goes away. I think it's in the fiber of our being, the very cells of our body. And I'm going to use the image of a tree. You know, the cutaway of a tree, when you see the rings that show all the years of a tree's life. And those rings actually show years of drought and years of flood. They show the scientists all kinds of details about the conditions that the tree experienced over the course of its very long lifetime. And so too, I believe there's a memory in our cells, in our bodies. Our mind has a wisdom that's not just in the brain, but throughout our whole cellular being. And we have that pain, and it's in us. And when an event comes up that causes us grief, a loss, it may be a hospitalization, sitting in the hospital alone. It may be a time in the health center doing rehab. It may be the loss of a dear friend or being at the graveside, contemplating mortality. We have these moments that put us in touch, and I think it triggers an aliveness throughout our system, and the cell's memory wakes up, and it can give us not just our current grief that we're experiencing, but a compound experience of all the griefs that we are carrying through the courses of our lifetime. I don't think there's any way to run away from it. We can put it off, but it's there. And I think the good news about this is that it's always available for us to meet that grief and to work through it in the company of loved ones, in the support of friends, perhaps reaching out to a counselor or to me or another figure that can be a chaplain for you, to be with you in the grief. We do work through it. We are able to, if we let it, our language, in the English language, and I think it's true in other languages too, we don't like to let ourselves break down. We don't want to have a breakdown and let all these feelings come in and flood us. They well up in us. They threaten to overwhelm us. We feel so desolate. It feels like it will never end, and it feels like we'll never come back. Sometimes it can feel like an abyss of loneliness. I know that. I visited this place some in the course of my life and in my work. And I know that there's a way we can reach out a hand to help each other, to experience those losses from even from early in our lives. They're still written in the fiber of our being. And as I said, the good news is that we can deal with it bit by bit if we let ourselves, if we're willing to sit down and let those feelings come up, to let the tears come out. I'm not saying you have to cry. Many people don't cry. I don't cry often, but I do know that when the tears have come, it's a very important physiological and emotional source of health for our human condition. It actually has well-being effects that doctors have been able to identify. Something in our autoimmune system gains strength by our having the courage to go in and face these losses that we've carried for much of our lives, and that we will carry for the rest of our days. I'm not saying the grief goes away. I'm not saying that the loss is made good. I am saying that we can come to a new place, holding this pain, holding this loss. And that is so important. That is transformative. That is one of the parts of our life work that I think defines our condition as human beings. It's part of the work that we have to grow in this world, in this lifetime. And perhaps it's even work that follows us in lifetimes to come. If one believes in Gilgulim, or the going around, reincarnation is not limited to Eastern thought. There's also in mystical Jewish thought that idea that our souls are on a journey, and that this emotional, psychological work is something that we carry. And so I reach out to you and I offer you that Tisha B'Av, this opportunity to listen to a recitation of some of the Book of Lamentations, a book of recitation of some of the horrors and sadness of the destruction of Jerusalem at the hands of the Babylonians, is meant for us to learn from and gain in wisdom. And I say, reach out for support. Make dates with your friends. Tell them, I'm going to need to talk tomorrow night, the next night. I'm going to need to check in. Can we talk during the day? I'm going to be spending some time. Whether you share what you're going through or not, I know many people keep this to ourselves. That's our normal human tendency. That saying, misery loves company, has a meaning beyond just liking to see somebody else who's in bad shape. We gain strength and comfort together as community. That is so important, and I think it's vital in this work of healing our bereavement. So my words to close with tonight are to be kind and gentle with yourselves. You don't have to do this all at once, and you don't have to do this alone without anybody knowing that you're holding this sadness, whether it's a child that you reach out to, a friend, your spouse. I wish you healing. I wish you peace and gentleness on this Tisha B'Av as we move toward the high holy days. So I'm now going to chant some of chapter 1 of the Book of Lamentations and then move to the end. I may read one passage in the middle as well. In chapter 2, I will do that. And I'm going to go back and forth from the Hebrew to the English. And I will as I said, I'm going to attempt to get fancy here, hopefully not too fancy for me to manage. But first, I'm going to show you the text after the first couple of minutes, and I think this reading is going to go on for about 5 or 6 minutes. I'm going to, after the first minute, I'm going to switch to this visual. Echa Yoshva Vadad Hayir Rabatiam Haita Kialmana Rabati Vagoyim Sarati Bamadinos Haita Lahamas. Alas, lonely sits the city, once great with people. She that was great among nations is become like a widow. The princess among states is become a thrall. Achu Tivke alayla v'dimata alecheya ein la menachem mikol ohaveha koreha bagduva hayula leoivim galta Yehuda Meoni umero vavoda hi yoshba vagoyim lo matza manoach korod feha hisiguha ben hamitzarim. Bitterly she weeps in the night, her cheek wet with tears. There is none to comfort her of all her friends. All her allies have betrayed her. They have become her foes. Judah has gone into exile because of misery and harsh oppression. When she settled among the nations, she found no rest. Darchet Zion Avelot Mivli by Moed Kol Shareha Shomemin Kohaneha Ne'enachim V'tulateha Nuhugot Vihi Maharlaha Hayutzareha Lerosh Oiveha shalu ki Adonai hoga al rov peshaeha olaleha al chushevi lifnei tzahar. All of her pursuers overtook her in the narrow places. Zion's roads are in mourning, empty of festival pilgrims. All her gates are deserted. Her priests sigh, her maidens are unhappy. She is utterly disconsolate. Her enemies are now the masters. Her foes are at ease because the Lord has afflicted her for her many transgressions. Her infants have gone into captivity before the enemy. Vayetze mibat Zion kol hadara hayusareha gayalim lo matzu mir'eh v'yelchu belo koach Vifnei Rodeh. We're going to move on to, in chapter 3 of Lamentations, verse 21. But this do I call to mind, therefore I have hope. The kindness of the Lord has not ended. His mercies are not spent. They are renewed every morning. Ample is your grace. The Lord is my portion, I say with full heart. Therefore will I hope in him. The Lord is good to those who trust in him, to the one who seeks him. And it is good to wait patiently till rescue comes from the Lord. It is good for a man when young to bear a yoke. Let him sit alone and be patient. When he has laid it upon him, let him put his mouth to the dust. There may yet be hope. Let him offer his cheek to the smiter. I'm on verse 31. Let him be surfeited with mockery, for the Lord does not reject forever, but first afflicts, then pardons in his abundant kindness. For he does not willfully bring grief or affliction to man, crushing under his feet all the prisoners of the earth, to deny a man his rights in the presence of the Most High, to wrong a man in his cause. This the Lord does not choose. Whose decree was ever fulfilled, unless the Lord willed it? Is it not at the word of the Most High that well and woe befall? Of what shall a living man complain? Each one of his own sins. I move on to the end of the Book of Lamentations. Ata Adonai leolam teshev, kisacha ledor vador. Lama lanetzach tishkachenu, tazvenu leoref yamim. But you, O Lord, are enthroned forever. Your throne endures through the ages. Why have you forgotten us utterly, forsaken us for all time? Hashivenu Adonai elecha v'nashuva. Kadesh Yameinu Kekedem. Take us back, O Lord, to yourself, and let us come back, renew our days as of old. Himaos mastanu, katsaft aleinu, ad meod. For truly have you rejected us, bitterly raged against us. And now the text returns to a note of uplift. Hashivenu Adonai elecha v'nashuva, Kadesh Yameinu Kekedem. Take us back, O Lord, to yourself, and let us come back, renew our days as of old. That concludes our short recitation of the Book of Lamentations, which I recommend to any of you who wish to spend any time with it for the purpose of not only the text being sacred itself, but also for our own sacred work of knowing our experiences and emerging in growth as healthier, stronger people of this community. We're going to add a Tisha B'Av prayer for healing. And I have words from my friend Trisha Arlen's prayer book before I do the traditional Tisha B'Av prayer. Heal us, the one who blessed our ancestors, Ruach HaOlam, breath of the universe, heal us. We need a healing prayer, but we don't have the soothing words. We're in pain right now, and it's been going on for a while, and it looks like it's going to last longer than it takes to say any prayer. So instead, let us try a pain prayer. A friend died suddenly, and I miss her. I lost my job, and my desperation is showing. I don't have a partner, and I'm lonely. I'm losing my home, I will never be comfortable again. My body hurts, and I'm becoming my pain. My child is sick, and I can't bear to hear her cry. I'm depressed, and I can't get out of bed. Did this name any of your sorrows? Do you want me to name them now? What was solid is porous. What was secure is scary. Everything has changed, and everyone wants to hurry us through our grief. It will be so much better, they say, when this is over. You will be transformed. Yes, we say, but into what? Yes, we say, but we're not there now. Yes, we say, but please, let us mourn first. Heal us, God, and we shall be healed. Can this be true? The soul placed within me is pure and cannot be lost. Where is that pure soul? Where is that healing of body, mind, and spirit? Is it in music? Is it in friends? Is it in prayer? So we listen to the music, and we are transported away from the heart. We look around at this community, so hard to do during this pandemic, and we are taken care of. We recite this prayer, and we speak to God. Perhaps this is a healing prayer after all. Baruch atah Adonai, the one who blessed our ancestors. Ruach ha'olam, breath of the universe, healer, healing, healed. Amen. I have the following names for whom we ask for healing. And for those of you whose names I don't have on this list who need healing, I ask you to reach out to me, and we'll keep on adding to this list. And this Mishnah Baruch is for you, whether your name is missing or not. Merrill Wertheimer, Uzi Ben Aryeh, Blanche Weinberger, Rossi Solomon, Lisa Vellekamp, Alexander Retsky, Alex Jonas, Ann Jonas, Sandy Dworkin, Jane Weiner, Monty Strauss, Shirley Parks, Shirley Wilson, Marcia Epner. May each of you have this healing, and we turn to the inside cover of the prayer book and sing, Mi sheberach avoteinu mikor habracha halimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mi sheberach imotenu mikor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. We turn to the Aleinu, which is on page 615, if you're following in the Gates of Prayer, or I'm going to turn to it in the Mishkan Tefillah. Aleinu l'shabeach le'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר ראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם וגור עלינו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר וחיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד. When I die, give what's left of me away to children and old men that wait to die. And if you need to cry, cry for your brother walking the street beside you. And when you need me, put your arms around anyone and give them what you need to give me. I want to leave you something better than words or sounds. Look for me in the people I've known or loved. And if you cannot give me away, at least let me live in your eyes and not in your mind. You can love me best by letting hands touch hands and by letting go of children that need to be free. Love doesn't die. People do. So when all that's left of me is love, give me away. This week, I'm going to add the name of Harry Benson and Alex Levy. And the Mourner's Kaddish on page 729 in the Gates of Prayer. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei rabbah ve'alma divra chirute v'yamlich malchute v'chayechonu v'yomechonu v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael v'agala b'zman kariv imru amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevorach leolam ulomei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpo'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitale v'yitalal shmei dekudusha berichu le'ela mikol berchata v'shirata tush bechata v'nechemata da'amiran b'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba mitshemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mramav huya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. We're going to conclude the service with this selection from Giuseppe Verdi's opera Nabucco, the chorus of the Hebrew slaves. I wish those of you who may be fasting an easy fast, and I wish all of you a deep peace and healing.